Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to this other edition of The Point on My Media Prime. We this evening are going to be looking at the conflicts ongoing in the Bunganju village in Mutengene, out there in the Fako division. We had last week somebody, Mr. Mbela Elive, who spoke lengthily on what is happening out there, the cancellation of the decision appointing the class chief of Bunganju village and its existence, and what is not going right with that village. And we had calls also from Mutengene on the need to also give a version from the chief of Bunganju. And also, as we speak, we also have calls from the people of Mutengene who would want to clarify the population on what is happening out there. Well, this evening we're going to be discussing on understanding the conflicts in Bunganju village, Mutengene court area, Tiko subdivision, Fako division, southwest region of Cameroon. We are discussing this with Mr. Martin Njie, who is the chairman of Bunganju Traditional Council. Good evening, Mr. Martin. We're glad to have you.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to be here to clear whatever that has been going on in Bunganju.
Okay.
Thank you.
How is Bunganju?
No, everything is Bunganju is okay, apart from what you rightly said, the crisis that has been going on. Orchestrated by some individuals, persons who are not natives, no inhabitants of the Bunganju village.
Okay. We're also in the company of Sandra Limunga Mbua, who is the daughter of Chief Litake Mbua. We are glad to have you, Sandra.
Good evening, televiewers. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm so happy for this opportunity to defend my community.
You are the princess?
Yeah, I'm the princess of Bunganju village.
Happy New Year to you.
Same to you, sir.
We also are in the company of Barrister Kia Emmanuel, who is the lawyer for Bunganju community. He's here with us. We're glad to have you, Barrister.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kum. It's always a privilege for me to come to my media prime, especially on your program, The Point, to provide clarity to certain issues which are otherwise befogged by deliberate acts of confusion from third parties. And so I'm happy to be here, specifically as counsel for Chief Litake Mbua, and to provide clarity on these issues.
Okay, I'll start with you, the traditional council chairman, Martin Njie, Bunganju village. We hear this village actually have never existed. It is not in the Gazette and a host of others. And we also know that there's Bunganju in Boya.
Boya, yeah.
Below Bajongo.
Yeah.
Yes, is there a relationship between that Bunganju and this one? And for how long has this village been existing?
There is no relationship between the Bunganju in Buya and that of Mutengene in Tiko subdivision. Bunganju in Mutengene Tiko subdivision was founded long ago, before the Germans even came to Cameroon. It was founded by our great-great-grandfather, Mwavize, who later became the first chief of that community. He was a village head, first village head of that community. When he died, he was succeeded by his son, Njie. Later, after Njie passed away, Ngwanyi took over as a third village head. Then you have Jokole. After Jokole, you have Leonga. From Leonga, you have Mbonde Mekiva, who was the chief of the Bunganju community. Then James Ndumbe Kombi who later died in 1983. When he died, Robert Nganjo was made the caretaker of the Mbunganjo community. He too passed away in 1986. Within that period, Litake Mwanga was still a kid. He was not opportune to be the chief of that village. After a long period, the kingmakers came up, they decided that the chieftaincy of that village should be rehabilitated. After their consultative talks, Litake Mwanga was then designated as the test class chief of the Mbunganjo community. But it is rather unfortunate for us that in the late 2022, his prefectorial order was withdrawn by the senior divisional officer for Faku. Thank you.
Yeah, you're saying that Litake Chief Litake Mbua is taking over from a chief?
Yes, he took over from a chief.
Which chief?
Chief James Ndumbekombi, who died in 1983.
So
that was a grandfather.
When did he become chief of Mbunganjo?
James Ndumbekombi, he became chief.
No, I mean
Litake Mwanga.
Yes.
He became chief in Mbunganjo in 2018.
Yes, but this person died in 1983.
Yes, Mr. Kum, let me just provide some legal clarity here.
Yes.
You know that in terms of chieftaincy, appointment of chiefs or constituting chiefs in chiefdoms, if you look at the chieftaincy law very carefully, you can have a period of vacancy on the throne, where perhaps because of the inability to find a suitable candidate to be chief,
like the situation has been in Mutengene, was in
Mutengene. So you cannot say that because it took 10, 15, 20 years to have a new chief in Mutengene, there had been no chief in Mutengene. Now, the issue with Mbunganjo is very simple. If you have the opportunity to look and read through the prefectural order withdrawing or cancelling the earlier prefectural order appointing him or designating him, confirming him as third-class chief of Mbunganjo, you will find that the SDO made it very clear that it was because of a procedural breach in designating him as chief. It did not say that he violated or he was not eligible to be chief. It didn't say that Mbunganjo did not exist as a village. It didn't say that there was no third-class chiefdom in Mbunganjo. It simply said that we are withdrawing your prefectural order on grounds of breach of procedure. And the SDO made specific reference to Section 7 of the Chieftaincy Law. Now, if you look at that in perspective, in the context of this crisis, you will understand that Litake Mwanga, as you want to call him now, since his chieftaincy prefectural order has been withdrawn, is still eligible to be elected as chief. In fact, the kingmakers have presented him alone as chief of Mbunganjo. And if the SDO withdrew the prefectural order, and let me come back again, because of this procedural breach, and what is that procedural breach? That is what people have been deliberately withholding, not wanting to tell the truth. The procedural breach is this. If you look at the chieftaincy law, there are 3 procedures that are involved. You have creation of a chiefdom. You have upgrading a chiefdom perhaps from third class to second class, from second class to first class. And then you have rehabilitation of a chiefdom. In a case where there have been a prolonged vacancy on the throne, on a particular chiefdom, such that perhaps there had been a vacuum between administration and the village, you need a rehabilitation decision from the Minister of Territorial Administration before a chief can be appointed. That is where the breach occurred, because you have to understand that these things have pecuniary effects on the budget of the country. When you are made third class chief, you receive a salary, and so by the time, and that is projected for in the budget presented to Parliament by the Minister of Territorial Administration. He needs to tell Parliament that we have 10, 15, 20 chief, third-class chief in the southwest or in Fako. Yes.
So in effect, what you're saying now is Bunganjo, as we speak, does not have a chief?
It doesn't, yes. At the moment, there is no sitting chief in Bunganjo. That is a fact. By virtue of the prefectural order withdrawing or cancelling the earlier prefectural order confirming Mwanga Litake as chief. But that does not mean that Bunganjo does not exist or the third-class chiefdom of Bunganjo does not exist. That is what I'm trying to clarify here. The only point that is left and which is being done at the moment, we are pursuing that at the moment, following all the legal avenues, is to have the Minister of Territorial Administration issue the necessary instrument rehabilitating the chiefdom of Bunganjo. And you see, Mr. Kum, there are times that you have people who sit in administrative offices who should hold public, they hold public office on trust for the people, and you expect that they are supposed to exhibit the highest level of integrity in managing public affairs. But when they start delving into issues, creating confusion for some other a hidden motive, then you have to get this kind of thing that looks unexplainable.
Okay.
Yes.
Sandra Limunga Mbwa, when were you born? You were born in Mutangane?
No, I was born in Boya.
And you've been to the village severally, you've seen the village, you knew your grandmother and the process of your father becoming chief?
Yes, I do know.
Mm-hmm.
I do know the process.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, my father was born normally as a child in the house. In our Bakri custom, when a man has not married his wife, whatever child he gives birth to belongs to the father of the house. So the man who gave birth to my father never married my grandmother. So when he died, my grandmother came to Mutengene and she started living in Bunganjo with her father, and her father took hold of Mbua Litake, my father, and raised him, because my grandfather died when my father was 9 months old. So my great-grandfather is actually the father my dad knows. So he raised him, trained him, taught him everything he knows, but did not reveal the fact that he was to be the next chief of Bunganjo village, because he already knew the conflict at hand. He already knew how people were already battling. This issue and crisis of Bunganjo did not start today. It's something that has been existing for a very long time. So he knew about it. So in order to preserve his successor, he hid the truth from him and raised him. So before James Duba Kombi, my great-grandfather, died, he made known to his only daughter, Limunga Margaret Ndumbe, my grandmother, and told her that my father is supposed to be his successor, but he should only reveal that to him when he's 40. Unfortunately, my grandmother had to die 2 years before my father became chief, before my father turned 40. Before she died, she handed the documents which her father had given concerning Bunganjo, and all the stories, everything, and the link with the archives and all whatever thing that had been happening in Bunganjo. She handed the document, handed the briefcase to her last daughter, Rose Deke, and told her to reveal the truth to her brother when he's 40. So when my father clocked 40, my aunt came to the house with the briefcase and handed it to my father and explained everything to him. So it is from then now that he took upon himself to study the files, and there were even directions from his diary on the places where he was supposed to go and meet the people. Robert Nganjo, who was actually the caretaker, was also one of the people that my father was sent to go. This explains the reason why Bunganjo had a long time before a chief actually was
over
installed.
40 years.
Okay. Now, we have this issue of, in Mutengene, we know Buinga, 1, Bunga 2, we know of the Suke, and what is actually happening within
So I can really actually explain about that. Bunganjo is a long existing village that existed in the early 1800s. In accordance to a decision from the superior governor, which was on the 3rd of December 1893, he gave King Gomba Geka of Bwenga jurisdiction over Bunganjo, Fue, Bokwai, and Bwenga to be the paramount ruler at that time. The reason why they gave him that power is because, one, Bwenga had a beach at that time. That was the access road. That was where the people could actually get to do their marketing. They could actually get results. They could actually get reports. And another thing is, the chief Ngombangeka was actually the eligible one that was educated. So he was the one that was handling the palavas at that time, as they call it. So they created something like a council at that time where they judge those issues. Where, okay, if Bokwai has a problem, it gets to...
Which Bokwai are we talking about?
There's Bokwai.
Bokwai Likumba.
Okay, Likumba.
Yeah, Bokwai Likumba. There's Bokwai Likumba, there's Bunganjo, there's Fue, and there's Bwenga.
Why do you say Suke?
Esuke is actually a place in Bunganjo.
It's a camp. Esuke is a CDC camp.
Okay.
That was created by virtue of the fact that CDC was erecting its plantations and creating small settlements for its workers. So it is not a village.
Okay.
Let me even explain how Esuke came about. He mentioned about Bondemekeva being the sick chief. Bondemekeva had 3 kids. You have Ewenye, you have Iruka, and you have Wome. So these 3 children had to settle in those strategic areas. So the place where Wome settled was called Wome. And the place where Ewenye settled was now called Ewenye. Even the river was named Ewenye. Isuka, being the 3rd child, also settled in that area where they call Isuka. So when the Germans came and they could not speak our language, they could not pronounce like we do. So they had to now call Ewenye Benue. So they called the river Benue River. That's where it got its name. Then Wome now became Ombe. Isuka. My ethnic language said Iruka. That's how they call it, Iruka. They called the name Iruka. So the Germans could not pronounce Iruka, so they called it Isuke. That is where it got its name.
So all of this emanate from Bunganjo?
Yes, they
It's
do.
actually a settlement in Bunganjo.
It's actually a settlement in Bunganjo.
Yeah, but how do we understand that Bunganjo is fighting for its existence, a recognition, and these other villages, Bwenga 1 and 2, and Mutengene, do they really recognize?
Yeah, Mr. Kum, let me just clear that, because that has a legal implication. It has, if you look at the what you call the Mutengene court area very well. If you look at it, and because if you want to look, they will tell you that before you raise any chiefdom to a second-class chiefdom, it must be able to have certain population. And when you look at Mutengene, you will find that Bunganjo is mentioned as one of the third-class chiefdoms under Mutengene court area. Clearly mentioned. Then they used to call it not Bunganjo with a B, but it was pronounced Bunganjo with a W. If you go even to the archives, you will trace it. And you know what has led to this confusion or crisis is land. Because of this vacancy on the stool of Bunganjo, some people saw Bunganjo, it was over 40 years or more.
Yeah.
Some people saw Bunganjo as no man's land and started perching there to grab land, including administrators. Started perching there to grab land. And when Mr. Litake was installed as chief, third-class chief, he resisted that, of course. Because not only was he resisting encroachment on village community land as chief, he also had letters of administration of his grandfather's estate and his mother's estate. So some of these encroachers or intruders had even gone as far as getting on his own private property. And because of that, he had instituted a series of court cases, including a case against the man who said came here last week, Mr. Bella, who was issued an injunction. We will come to that. Now, when people started intruding on Bonganjo land and he was resisting, obviously that would create a natural a crisis, a kind of tension. And so the governor of this region instructed the SDO to set up a land commission. And if you look at the terms of that letter, it is very clear. Set up a commission to look at those who have intruded, the non-natives who have intruded on the village land of the Bonganjo people, and see how they can be accepted to settle there regularly. Those were the terms of reference of the governor's instruction to the SDO. The SDO, of course, by hierarchical structuring, could not be the one to constitute, to chair the commission. So he instructed the DO of Tiko to be the chairman of that commission. The DO comes to sit on that commission and raises the issue that some people are doubting the existence of Bonganjo. But people brought maps. I'll leave you with some of the findings and resolutions of the commission headed by the DO of Tiko, which he himself signed.
The current DO?
The current one. And that is why I am in court with him today, because he has shown that he lacks integrity as an officer. Now listen, when they sat and presided over this commission, they asked the man of Esuke, bring your own map that shows that Esuke exists as a village. There was no map. They asked the other people, bring your maps. Of course, when you're talking about maps, we're talking about instruments that were issued by the appropriate government department in this country. The chief of Bonganjo brought his map, which was corroborated by the second-class chief of Mutengene, that this is correct. And so that commission found as a fact that Bonganjo exists as a village. It is there. The commission finding, which was signed by the Joe himself, it is there. Now there was an issue as to the exact boundary points of Bonganjo village. And because people were already interested in certain parcels, vast parcels, tracts of land. And you know very well, you have been on this land grabbing thing for a long time. You know the role administrators play. They push people in front to grab and settle with them. And that was the case, the actual situation in this case. Now, when they now went into the actual demarcations, the chief then of Bonganjo Litake discovered that because Bonganjo lies closer to the highway, these other people were trying to lay claim on land that they could sell easily. But being a peace-loving person, he said, listen, if your point is that you want to get land at all costs in Bonganjo, I will give you land. I can give 100 hectares to Boinga 1, 100 hectares to Boinga 2, on condition that you people will reciprocate and give me corresponding dimension of land in your own villages. I can give you as my brother, as my neighbor, that come here, we encourage development, come and settle here and use the land. But I cannot give you that parcel of land or that huge tract of land as if it were part of your land. It should be clear that we are doing a kind of swapping for development purposes. That was the last decision that was arrived at by that commission. And that is where we stand. So nobody, including the DO of Tiko, except he has lost his senses, would say that Bonganjo does not exist as a third-class chiefdom. He cannot say that. Nobody can say that.
Yeah, but I know that the divisional officer for Tico subdivision informs the general public that for some time now, various social media outlets have embarked on a large-scale mediatization of unverified facts relating to a certain arrest and detention of some youths said to be members of a vigilante group in the village of Bonganjo. Conversely, to what the various videos and other commentaries registered portray, this is rather a ploy to deviate public attention from ongoing investigations into the indiscriminate, illegal and criminal sale of farmlands belonging to private persons by one Litake Mwanga Mbwa. Upon information of a recent large-scale destruction of vast hectares of farmland, still under administrative injunction in the disputed Bonganjo Esukebwinga area, the divisional officer accompanied by all his close aides. Yes, but Chairman.
Yes, sir.
This is written by the divisional officer for Tico subdivision that you people were engaged in this sale of large, indiscriminate, illegal and criminal sale of farmlands. Yes, why were you people?
Mr. Kum,
yes.
You see, while you are addressing this question to the chairman, I will beg leave to make some very salient points even before he answers, because I had mentioned it before that I have actually filed an action against the DO of Tico before the administrative court of the Southwest region based on this communique, urging the administrative court to suspend the effects of this communique because it is loaded with half-truths, deliberate lies, meant to create, infuse public opinion with half-truths. First of all, when he said that he went to Bonganjo and found that the vigilante group had been suspended, that is not true. The vigilante group in Bonganjo was suspended in April of 2020. By August of that same year, the same DO who gave the suspension made an upliftment order reinstating them. So when he says this, and that decision is coming from his office, you start to see the mischief behind this kind of communique. You start to see the mischief. It's painting people. I am currently appearing and defending those boys in court. I don't want to make statements on that. Because the matter is sub judice, I don't want to make any further commentary on that. But it is wrong for the divisional officer, when a matter is before the court, you are issuing a public statement, right, pushing it to the media to impact, to impress, and it's what you call to interfere with the independence of the court. This is what this letter seeks to do.
Okay. Yes, but Chairman.
And secondly, when he talks about large-scale destruction, the day that the DO of Tico went to the site, there was a bulldozer standing there. He didn't bother to find out who placed the bulldozer there. And this is where we read bad faith in all his actions. First of all, the piece of land that was alleged to be bulldozed, vast tract of land destruction, that work was not carried out by Litake Mwanga. It was carried out by a lady called Madame Portia Ewane, who was a staff at the time with the city council, the equipment pool of the Limbe City Council. And when we saw these allegations, we caused a belief. Go and find out who placed that bulldozer there.
Yeah, but from whom did she acquire the land?
He acquired that land.
I mean, the lady.
Yeah, the lady had acquired that land from more than 40 years ago.
From
part of the land from Litake's father and part from Litake.
Okay.
But we are saying that if I give you land, right? If I give you land to settle, and the DO places an injunction on that land, and you continue to work on the land, I cannot be held responsible.
Yeah, but Chairman, there is injunction on that land.
Yeah.
by the divisional officer. Seemingly activities are still going on.
No,
why
no,
are you not
that-
respecting?
There was an injunction in that land.
That
But
is what I'm trying to say, Mr. Kum. The injunction that was placed on that land was in 2015. Right? Ask yourself, can any reasonable administrator place an injunction over a parcel of land for 8 years? Does that make sense to you? For 8 years, you place an injunction on a parcel of land for 8 years? What, I mean, and then you say that the land consultative board, what is the job of the land consultative board if for 8 years you cannot resolve that dispute? But look at it further. I will show you a court judgment here in which the Tico Court of First Instance, because when you don't have title, what you call a land certificate of property, yes, you can have rights of occupation. And that is why the offense of disturbance of quiet enjoyment is previewed under the penal code. And so even though the DO had placed an injunction over the place because a certain Mbela was laying adverse claim on the land, Litake Muvangabwa sued him criminally in the courts in Tico, and the court gave an injunction to say, you Mbela, don't go to that parcel of land again until you show proof that you have a land certificate over the land.
Okay.
And that was after 2015. So if the DO, because I see that the DO has issued a fresh injunction reiterating that he is reinforcing the injunction of 2015, and we have made a criminal complaint against the DO of Tico to the Procureur General for interfering with the decision of the court. If you look at the laws of this country, it tells you that no administrator, no legislator is allowed to interfere with the execution of a court judgment.
Okay. Now, we are talking about this. Guys, we say there is Buinga, there is Esuke, there is Bonganjo. We have, is Buinga 1 and 2.
yes, we have.
As chairman of the traditional council all these years, you've been facing these problems, and Chief Litake Bua also. What has been the role of all these other neighbors in sorting out this issue?
Yeah, for quite some time now, we have been having meetings to settle these disputes. Lastly, like what Barrister just said, we had a meeting with the DO where some of the chiefs were all present, and to solve this matter, the chief of Mbonganjo, Litake Mwangambua, he's a peace-loving chief, so he opted that for peace to reign, because some of these villages, the DO, due to selfish interest, because of selfish interest, he had to work with some of these villages, like Mbwenga 1 and 2. He wanted that the chief of Bonganjo should issue them land. So the chief said, okay, for peace to reign, because the DO himself said, for peace to reign.
Why are you accusing the DO? Are you saying that the chiefs of Buinga 1 and 2 themselves?
Not the chief, not the chief. Let me tell you, Mr. And I said
the DO was the chairman of this commission.
Let me just be very frank to you, Mr. Kum. I'm a lawyer for 21 years today. I've interacted with administrators from the lowest to the highest. And we know when an administrator is corrupt. And we know when an administrator is fronting. Let me tell you. You saw a young man who came here, fair-colored, called Mbela, whom I cited you a court judgment in Tico that restrained him. We have given these documents to the DO to say that these are judicial processes. Why is it that any time that Mbela comes to you, you run helter-skelter? What interest do you have? So Mbela is an agent for the DO of Tico. He's an agent for the DO of Tico.
Yeah, but
it is Mbela who is at the root of all these issues. Mbela does not live in Bonganjo. Mbela does not come from Bonganjo. He does not come from any neighboring villages of Bonganjo.
Yeah, but this
Mbela was at best a caretaker for the Ngongis estate in Bunganjo.
Yeah, but these are accusations you are bringing.
Not accusation, very serious facts
against Mr. Mbela and the divisional,
yes,
and the divisional
officer for Tico. No, not accusations. These are facts that we have placed before the relevant administrative and judicial authorities to educate on them.
Yes, Mbela and Mbela and the DO will tell you also that they have.
We are waiting for them.
They have taken this matter to court, and but the question is. The chief of Bwinga, one. Chief of Bwinga, two. Esuke has a chief?
No. There is no Esuke and there is no chief.
Esuke does not exist as a village.
But where is Esuke coming into this affair?
The reason why they brought Esuke,
who brought it?
Bela.
Okay.
Was a mafia for them to grab land in Bunganjo. So they are like brainwashing the people around that Mbonganjo doesn't exist, that area is Esuke, which is a fat lie.
Where the people of Bunganjo, where are they coming from?
The people from Bunganjo, they originate from Bunganjo.
Okay.
That village.
They did not migrate from some?
No way.
No way.
Okay.
There's even,
we are all from
an archive document that states that Bunganjo are one of the people that are original landowners in Faku.
In Faku and in Mutengene subdivision.
Is it a coincidence that there is Bunganjo in Tiko subdivision and Bunganjo in Boya subdivision?
Sir, I'll put the question back that is it not also a coincidence that there's Bukwai in Boya?
Yes.
And there's Bukwai in Mutengene.
Not only that, I go a little bit further.
There's another Bukwai somewhere behind the mountain. After oh, is it Bukwai?
It's Bova. You have Bova around Moyenga and Moyoka, yes, and Bova in Boya.
Okay. Let me even tell you a more classical example. You see the villages called Mevio.
Okay, there's Mevio Mebenge somewhere. Yeah?
There's Mevio Kuru. There is Mevio Lower Mevio. There is Wonya Mevio. All these things are ways of, if I decide to settle in a place, as a first settler, I can give it whatever name I choose to. And most often, it is the village is named after the person, the first settler of the village.
Yes.
So if you are Mr. Kum and there are 20 Kums in your village, and one of them said, I mean in the tribe, because we are talking about the Bakwiris, and one decides to settle, a Kum settles in a Bunganjo settles in Boya, the other one settles here, and the villages are named after them, there is no link.
Okay, there's no link. No, there is a decision of the SDO.
Yes, please.
Cancelling.
Yes.
Please, what is the process that is ongoing today? If people have to engage in business with Bunganjo, how does it happen? Is it the traditional? Are you the
chairman?
Yes, you meet the traditional council. There is a traditional council land committee that has been put in place to look into such. If you want to engage into any aspect in any business in Bunganjo, you meet the traditional council. Yes.
So the chief Litake, what happens to him now?
He is.
You see. I want to answer that. Chief Litake is a very law-abiding person. From the moment when his prefectural order was withdrawn, he pulled down the flag that was in his palace and has never referred to himself as chief until such a time that the procedures will be adjusted and things put back in perspective. And so it is not relevant to say what happens to him. He's a Bunganjo person by right. He's a stakeholder in the as part of the Bunganjo community. Yes.
Yeah, but the traditional council, is it not the traditional council, or traditionally there is a way of making someone a chief?
Sir.
Because the administration only endorses what
you have kingmakers.
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
What are you?
Yeah, but we are seeing that the kingmakers are not contesting that Litake is not the chief of Bunganjo. So traditionally, he is the chief.
Yeah, but that's what I'm asking.
No,
yeah.
Traditionally, he is the chief.
Yes.
But it doesn't end there. So we can say that he's chief designate.
Yes.
Right? The right appellation with that is chief designate. But because we don't want to befuck public opinion, to give the impression that we are still ascribing the title chief to him, right? He's waiting until such a time that the necessary administrative procedures are adjusted Because there is no other decision, there is no other consultative talks that are held. There was a consultative talk that was held before he was, and the kingmakers presented him. There was no contender.
Yeah, but there was a commission. There was a commission that was put in place by the governor of the Southwest region.
Yes.
To investigate fake villages and
Yes.
chiefs.
Yes.
This, I know that the commission was dissolved
Yes.
by the same
By the same
By the
governor.
same
by
governor.
the same governor.
Yeah.
I got so many persons reacting to that last week. But were there not findings from this commission on Bonganjo village?
There wasn't.
There wasn't
There was
findings.
there was no adverse findings
Findings.
as to the non-existence of Bonganjo as a village. There was no adverse findings as to the wrongful designation of Litake Movangambua as chief of, because you see, under the chieftaincy law, there are certain elements that could disqualify you from being a chief. If you were a convict,
Yeah.
if you did not reside in the village, if you did not originate from the village. Those are some of the issues. So if you are chief, or if you have been designated, or you are even chief at all, anybody can protest to say this man should be withdrawn as chief because he does not fulfill any of these
those
eligible
conditions.
criteria. But that is not the case with Movanga. Litake was designated, no opposition. But like I said to you, the administration, the SDO, failed to engage the appropriate administrative procedure. And that is what the administration is trying to correct at the moment.
What is your dad doing now? Are you people sad? Are you yes, are you sad? Are you beaten? Are you disappointed after what you have gone through?
No, there's no point to be sad here.
We are not sad, we are not disappointed, we are not defeated. We stand as a community, and our main aim now is just to develop our community, to impact our people, to empower our people, to ensure that our people are better than the years before.
And that even in the current context, where the chieftains, the chief that was appointed, the prefecture has been withdrawn, the village is still forging ahead.
Yeah, but are you not also actually disturbed by persons who may say that we acquired land here, and because of the decision taken by the senior divisional officer of FACO, we are scared because
Now, Mr. Kum, let me tell you something.
Yes.
And that is where people have
Because that's a big problem. We are faced with tons.
Let me tell you, let me explain something to you. 90% of the people who say they acquired land in Boganjo, they give you the impression that they bought land. They give the impression that they bought land. They did not buy land.
Even from Chief Litake.
Let me explain to you. You know, I have been with the Bonganjo community for a very long time. And so I can tell you certain things authoritatively. The traditional council of
Bonganjo
has a policy of rotating the chairperson of the land commission. It rotates from person to person, person to person, person to person, person to person. At one time, Litake, even as chief, was the chairperson of that commission. So the allocation letters that were given to people who intended to settle, pursuant to the directives of the governor that non-natives who wanted to settle should follow the appropriate route, he issued them allocation letter. If you see those allocation letters, they are on the header paper of the Bonganjo Traditional Council. And he issued them as chairman of the Land Commission of the Bonganjo Traditional Council. It was not given for pay. What happened was that they will ask you, since you are coming to develop, you cannot come and take land without giving the community the perspective to realize other community projects. So you will pay what is called development fee. And these people pay development fee according to the size of land that they occupied. So they did not buy land. And the traditional council is still here. Anybody notwithstanding, this is the chairman of the traditional council. If anybody believes that the traditional council has allocated them land for which they do not need anymore, and they want to refund that land and want the money that they paid as development fee because they have not used the land, that is something that is very possible. Approach the chairman, because that is an institution. It is not a person. It's an institution. Even if he's not there, the next chairman of the council should be able to address those issues, because they have a collect fund. They have a fund. So if you want your money because you don't want the allocation anymore, approach, and that will be sorted out.
Okay, approach, and that will be sorted out. Bwinga 1 land from Bonganjo, Bwinga 1 and 2.
They are very far from Bonganjo.
Yes, but they want land from...
They want land from Bonganjo.
How would they want land from another village?
With all...
Don't they have enough land?
They have land in their own area, but due to the fact that they are looking at it, that development is closer to where Bonganjo is, at the roadside, so they had to look for means to migrate, to leave the further area to the roadside. So with what they had in mind, they never approached the Bonganjo community for that, but they went behind, met the deal, who intend for him to resolve what was given to him by the senior divisional officer to implement. He turned around to play games in order that Bonganjo should give land to Bwinga 1 and 2. They were requesting for 100 hectares of land from this Bonganjo. The chief said he is a law-abiding and a peace-making chief. He opted, he said, look, the people of Bwinga 1 and 2, we are all in this Mutengene community, the Mutengene court area. I'll give you people 100 hectares of land each, from 100 hectares of land to Bwinga 1 and 100 hectares of land to Bwinga 2, with the conditions that you also will give it, will replace it in your own villages, in your respective villages.
Where is Bwinga 1 and where is Bwinga 2?
Where Bwinga 1 and Bwinga 2, you will find it closer to the beach, around where you have the Pamol Estate.
Okay.
Yes.
Far down.
Far down. They have no boundary with Bwinga.
You see.
They don't have any boundary.
No boundary.
No. Mr. Kum, let me explain something to you which you will find interesting. Have you seen the Sase new layout in Faku? You know where Sase village is? It's far in Boya subdivision. Are you surprised that they have a new layout between Moliwe and Maifo?
Yeah.
In Limbe subdivision? Does that ring a bell in your head? So you see, this is what gives people some kind of motivational drive to think that, okay, we can come here.
But you said, yes, Chairman, you say the chief is a
peace-loving person, yes,
and tells the chiefs of Bwinga 1 and Bwinga 2 that I'm going to give you land. Yes. Has he that capacity to give out land?
As community.
As community.
Yes. As community.
Yeah, but
that is why I said
the traditional council.
No. Bwinga 1 and 2 chiefs never came to the Bonganjo community. They invited the chief
to the
GS office.
Mr. Kum, if you look at the way that commission was created, right, they could not ask the entire traditional council of each of the contesting villages to come and sit in that meeting.
Yeah, but
so they asked people to come as representatives. So if Chief Litake was sitting in that commission, he was sitting in that commission on behalf of the
Bonganjo community,
Bonganjo people. And when he made that proposal, he was making that proposal on behalf. He was not doing it solo. He was not saying that. He knew that he was going to report back. He had made consultations with the traditional council even before going. What do you think? How do you think we can move ahead with this? If we want peace, yes, there's no point that we keep pushing forth and back. Okay, and that was a resolution in the traditional council. Yes, offered to give them 100 hectares each, provided that they too should give us, so that it is clear that it is not, this place is not Bwinga land.
Okay, but now he offered to give them land. He accepted.
Yeah.
And
No, on conditions.
On condition.
Yeah, that's the condition. Have they accepted?
They do not have 100 hectares
There.
in their own areas to give. So that is where there was a deadlock. And then the duo swung into action because that seemed to have scuppered his own motives to grab land there. And started that is why he's moving around like
Why
a
don't they have 100 hectares to give?
The
villages are too small.
It's not that they are too small. Their land has been occupied by Pamol.
By Pamol.
Okay.
And other
Pamol or CDC?
Pamol.
Buenga Pamol Estate.
It used to be called Buenga Pamol Estate.
In around Ombe, there's Pamol in Ombe?
No.
Down, right
Buenga.
down. And Buenga.
You see, Pamol just
a Buenga
recently went and established in Indian
India?
area. Yeah, but it started off
Okay, up
down
here.
here. Yes. CDC was different from Pamol.
So now they don't have land to give. They just want Bungajo to give them land.
And that is where the chief, as representative of the Bungajo people in that meeting, said, I will not give you land except you are also giving me land in return.
Yes, but you are the princess. Have you people not also destroyed the properties of persons in that land?
We haven't destroyed properties. We have not destroyed properties. The only thing is that whoever that acquired land from those sources that were not found, that are not indigenous of the village, they were called in and they were actually compensated with their land. We don't destroy.
Don't destroy it.
So there's peace in Bungajo, is that what you're saying?
And rather,
yes, and actually we are the ones that actually experience destruction.
yeah, that's what I was going to say, because the palace that was built by Chief Litake, part of it was burned down.
We experience the highest form of
Part of it was
destruction.
burned down. The DO has not been interested in investigating that act of arson. He has not been interested in investigating that act. That's the highest offense that you can commit, arson. He's looking about destruction of crop and targeting people.
Now, as it stands today, you are at court, the court with the divisional officer for
Tico, yes.
Tico. And how do you intend to settle the matter?
Well, we have taken it to court. I don't want to give, once the matter becomes sub judice, I don't want to talk about, but we believe that our facts are straight, very clear, and we are looking at the possibility. First, we have asked for a restraint, like I said, a stay of the execution of the orders that he has, the communique that he has issued, because like I said, it is loaded with have lies. First, we have established by a bailiff report that the destruction that were allegedly done on the land was done by a certain Madame Portier, who came there assisted by military and gendarme officers. And secondly, we have established that the prefecture, the orders suspending the vigilante group have been suspended. The vigilante group have been reinstated. And we are saying that those are key aspects. And let me tell you, Mr. Kum, you know that if you have been designated as chief, like I said before, and that is where I want to tell you the mischief of this communique. If you have been designated as chief, one reason why anybody can petition that you should not be chief is when there is evidence that you have been engaged in some acts that are deemed to be criminal. And so when the chief, when the DO issues a communique of this nature, that Litake is engaged in massive destruction, are you getting me? He's trying to build a file to disqualify him as chief designate.
Yeah, but
that is the mischief.
You say the vigilante is
It's being reinstated
by who?
by the same DO who suspended at the
When
time.
was that? When was it reinstated?
In August of 2020, when this young man was not chief, was not DO of Tico.
Yeah.
Yes,
was not
but,
even
but,
due.
but this communique says the divisional officer further reiterates that Bungajo Village Vigilante Group had been suspended by the sub-prefectural decision since 2020, and therefore any persons acting in such a capacity had been doing so in total illegality.
Yes, that is why we are saying that he lied. He lied because if I show you This is the order suspending the vigilante group. This is the order reinstating the vigilante group.
Okay.
So he cannot come and he cannot pick and choose which one to rely on. So you will see that his communique is wrong. The facts they are wrong. And that is what we are telling him, that you cannot deliberately mislead the public opinion on an important issue like this.
The matters of destruction of farmland, illegal sale and criminal transactions on the said dispute area, not leaving out the 4 suspects apprehended are before the courts of law for justice to take its course. However, he wishes to reassure the peace-loving and law-abiding population of Tiko subdivision that no stone shall be left unturned in the resolute stride to guarantee their peace and security. Now,
Mr. Kum, let me tell you something which is very clear. Let me tell you something.
Yes.
The order putting an injunction, if at all it is lawful, is issued by the Dio of Tiko. If he believes that Litake Muvagambua has violated that injunction, let him arrest him. Let him arrest him. If he believes that Litake Muvagambua has violated that injunction, let him arrest him. Then we will establish that there is still rule of law in this country. Let him arrest him. Get me very well. If he believes he should not do it by communique, let him arrest him. He has the powers to say go and arrest. Why did he arrest young boys who he claims were smoking banga? Why did he arrest them? Why did he not arrest Litake? It's a shame.
Okay. Yes. What are you telling the young ladies of Bonganjo and the people who are also worried about the situation at hand today?
A word for the people of Bonganjo and the ladies of Bonganjo is that we are a people, we are a community, and for every successful move we make, we need to work as one. And we are not defeated, but we are standing tall as the Bonganjo women, as the Bonganjo youths, to ensure that our community is developed, our girls are educated, our women are empowered, our young boys become illustrious. One of the key visions that my father had was to establish a quarry, of which he has done, and he has bought the stone crusher to ensure that the youths are not left idle, but they work to be able to fend for themselves. It is a vision of my father to ensure that every youth owns a house. So it is not the end. It is just the beginning of a new phase whereby we would stand up and work and develop our community and stand as a team to ensure that our children become what Cameroon will call they are proud of.
Okay. Traditional council chair, are you saying this evening that Bonganjo is not only subject to attacks from the administration, but from neighboring villages?
Yes, sir. Because the neighboring villages, the attacks from them, since so many of them have been using Bonganjo as no man's land, they have done everything to encroach. Even villages that are far away from Bonganjo, they want to acquire land in Bonganjo. Even indigenes or non-indigenes, people from different villages like Mbela, who is from Mapanja, now claims to be
a stakeholder in Bonganjo issues.
You have people from Lebi Alem and the rest. They are now claiming.
You're talking about my own people now.
We have people from far away. Everybody, like the other day, we saw them going to Yaoundé. Non-indigenous, non-Bakwarians, putting on kaba, pretending to be Bakwarians and indigenous of Bonganjo, that they have problems in Bonganjo. Bonganjo hasn't got any problem.
I think that, Chairman, it is important to highlight that whilst these actions are going on in court, well, I told you we have made two. The first is the one in the administrative court, in which we are asking the courts to suspend the effects of the land certificate, the communique that the gentleman you issued. And we intend to, at the expiration of the 90 days period for pre-action litigation, we intend to file a civil claim against him for defamation. We will do that. We are not thinking twice about it. We will do it. Secondly, we have seen that he has misused his office by reiterating that that injunction of 2015 still exists, reinforcing it, you know, in a fashion that undermines a court judgment.
Okay.
We have issued a formal written criminal complaint against him in his person.
Yeah, but in all of this,
Yes.
what is the chief of Mutengele himself? What is he saying? Are you engaging him?
The chief of Mutengene, with him, he was even surprised with Mbila's outing.
And minus that, he
made it clear that they even had a meeting yesterday to disown Mbila. That Mbila does not belong to that community, and he hasn't got any right to present himself before any media as a member of that community.
But more importantly, Mr. Kum, if you look at the findings of that commission that I was telling you, you will see that the chief of Mutengene has made his point very clear. He has made his point very clear. And I think that he's a gentleman.
Yeah.
He's made his point. That meeting was even chaired by the senior divisional officer, CGO of Tico is signed. Yeah, he signed. So everybody is here. Then he was assigned, everybody signed. So when you look at it from this perspective, my brother, you start asking yourself. I don't think that it's a matter of asking what is the chief of Mutengene saying, because you want to know that the way the chieftaincy law operates, every chief is answerable to. I mean, in terms of administration, to the administration.
Yeah.
But in terms of traditional matters, they may have their hierarchical arrangement and structuring.
Yeah, but at least they can also defend this.
Of course,
yes.
That is why I'm saying that we have this. There is even another decision by the chiefs of Tico, chiefs of that area. They sat there, made minutes, took decisions, and said, "No, this place exists as a village." And that is the meeting in which Litake offered, say, let me do a hand of, give you an olive branch. We should stop moving up and down like mad people. If your problem is land, I can understand, because these people are taking much of your land there. But it will be wrong for me to come and give you 100 hectares of land in my village on no terms. No chief will do that. No traditional council will do that. If you dare do that now, history will hold you responsible.
That you give out land.
Yes. That you sold the village patrimony of the village. So, but then, Mr. Kum, I think what is important is that let us just wait and observe and see how the law takes its course on these issues that we are raising. But just to reaffirm that Litake Muvangambua is the chief designate by the kingmakers of Bonganjo village. There's a functional traditional council, and of course the necessary procedures are in place to reinstate his prefectural order.
Okay, we are going to be ending at this juncture. Mr. Martin J, thank you, Chairman for Bonganjo Traditional Council. We are glad you came.
Thank you, Mr. Leo.
And to you, Sandra Lemunga Mbua, daughter of Chief Litake. Mbua, thank you for coming.
I'm glad to be here. It's a pleasure.
Right, sir, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kum. see you some other time, and not on Bulganjo issues again, because it would have been settled.
I hope you are going to be there tomorrow.
I'll be there.
Okay, thank you all for watching this edition of the program of The Point. Tomorrow on Prime Hour, we're going to be looking at the news that was actually made known yesterday by the Foreign Affairs Minister of Canada, announcing to the world that some separatist groups have agreed to enter into negotiations with the government of Cameroon, and that they hope that it works out for peace to finally return to Cameroon. And we are going to be looking at that with some very key panelists to tell us better what different quarters are saying with respect to this announcement. We want to thank you all for watching the program. Special thanks to you, Eli and Desmond, Tabitha and Brian for supervision. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.